Let's talk about sales tax because this is probably one of the most confusing aspects of running a retail business, and I'm just going to be upfront about that. Every state is different, so I'm going to preface this entire episode by saying that you should always look to the resources that your state Department of Revenue or Department of Taxation or whatever equivalent department they have has available for you. And please do not be afraid to call them, okay? They're not scary. All of the people that I have had to talk to at the different state departments, in the sales tax departments, they are all super helpful. They're super nice. So please do not be afraid to call them and use them as a resource. But in today's episode, I'm going to give some general guidance on what sales tax is, what rates you need to charge, who you need to charge in terms of which customers, and then what you need to do with the money you collect. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Boutique Bookkeeper Show, where we take the mystery out of your money and make your numbers make sense. I'm Megan, virtual bookkeeper and bookkeeping coach, and I love helping female boutique owners just like you finally feel confident about the financial side of your business. If you're tired of feeling anxious every time you have to open QuickBooks, or if you're making sales but constantly left wondering, where did all that money go? You're in the right place. We'll cover all things bookkeeping and taxes, all in plain English, so you can be less intimidated by the numbers and finally start to use them to help you grow a profitable boutique. So, if you're ready to stop avoiding this whole numbers thing and start keeping more of the money you make, grab your coffee and your calculator and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Boutique Bookkeeper Show. I'm Megan, and today we are going to be talking all about sales tax. I know sales tax can be complicated, especially if you do any selling online, and let's be real, it's 2026, so chances are you're selling stuff online. So first off, we're just going to talk about what is sales tax. So for this, it's important for you to understand that it's not necessarily you charging your customers a tax, it's the state charging the customers, and your business is simply acting as the middleman that has to collect it from your customers and pay it to the state. Keeping that in mind, you also need to realize that the money you collect in sales tax, it's not income for you. You do not need to report that as your income. It actually is reflected on your balance sheet as a liability. And then again, when you pay it to the state, it's not an expense. It was never your money to begin with. You're just holding it for a short period of time and then paying it to the state. If you sell taxable products in your store, you're going to be using sales tax rates of the location in which your customer takes possession of the products. So to put this into kind of real life examples, if you have a physical brick and mortar store, your sales tax rates is always going to be at the state, county, and city rate that your store is physically located in. Because all of your customers are coming to your store, that is where they are taking possession of your products. You're going to charge them your state, county, and city tax rates. Now, some cities don't charge sales tax, so again, this is where I want you to make sure that you are looking at your state sales tax guidelines to make sure that you are charging the applicable rate. But that is the rate that you will use to charge your customers for any brick and mortar sales. If you do any online selling, your sales tax rate is going to be calculated based on the delivery address because that is where your customer is taking possession of your products when it is being delivered to their home address. If you ever do any mobile or pop-up events, sales tax rates, again, are going to be charged using the location of where that pop-up event is. And again, it may be a state, county, and city rate. So again, just check with that state's Department of Revenue to make sure that you are charging the appropriate rate. But it's just the thing to keep in mind is that the sales tax rate that you use is always going to be wherever your customer takes possession of the products. Now, do you need to charge sales tax to everyone? This is a question that I hear a lot. And if you are a new boutique, chances are you will only need to charge sales tax to those in your state. So you only need to charge sales tax to customers in states where you have a physical or economic nexus which just means you have a presence in that state. So a physical nexus means that either you live there, your business is registered there, maybe you have employees in that state, maybe you have a warehouse that helps store and process orders that you ship out. Or maybe you travel to this state to do a pop-up event, all right? Those all represent a physical nexus or a physical presence in that state, which means that you likely will have to charge sales tax to customers in that state as well. The other type of nexus that you may have is what's known as an economic nexus, which means simply that your business does or generates enough sales in that state where that state wants you to start charging sales tax to your customers. And again, because the states can't make this easy for us, different states have different limits. But a very common limit or threshold is either $100,000 in sales in that state or 200 individual orders in that state. And again, because they can't make this easy, some states, they look at just a calendar year. So having that much in sales or orders from January to December. Sometimes it's a rolling 12 months. So if you've had that much in the last 12 months, that's when they may consider you reaching a nexus. But again, if you are just starting out, you have a brand new boutique, it'll probably be a little bit until you have to worry about this, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that once you start getting a lot of orders from different states, you may want to start reviewing and seeing which states you have a nexus in. I will link in the show notes some helpful resources to help you identify what those different states' limits are. I know one website is Avalara, and they have a good, US map that helps indicate how many orders, how much revenue you need to do in different states before you have to start collecting sales tax. But it is also worth noting that before you just start collecting sales tax in a state, you do have to make sure that you register with that Department of Revenue and get your sales tax permit, reseller's permit, whatever that state calls it, before you actually start collecting sales tax in that state. But again, if you're a brand new boutique, you probably just have to worry about the state that you are physically located in, the state that you have registered your business in, and you will be able to grow from there. All right, so once you've determined which states you have a nexus or a presence in, the next step I would do is actually double check if your products are taxable there. Because again, they can't make it easy, right? Not all states have the same sales tax laws. Shocking, I know. So just for an example, in my home state of Minnesota, clothing is not taxable. But I live about 30 minutes from the North Dakota border, and if I go just across the border, clothing is taxable. So not only do you need to know, okay, do you have a nexus in different states? But then once you've determined, yes, you do, then research, okay, how do the sales tax laws differ in that state from the state that I'm in? Maybe you'll get lucky and all of the taxable products in your state are the exact same in the other state that you've reached nexus in. That makes things a little more, easier for your brain to remember, but that's not always the case, so make sure you do your research. Each state's Department of Revenue, sometimes it's called Comptroller or Taxation Department, a lot of their websites have different resources available to detail out what is taxable and what isn't taxable, so definitely start on their websites. But again, if you can't find your answers there, please do not be afraid to pick up the phone and give them a call, because everyone that I've had to talk to in sales tax departments at different states, they're super helpful. They know this topic is confusing. They are not afraid to help you. All right, so far we've kind of covered what sales tax in, how to know what rates you need to charge, who do you need to be charging. The last thing I want to cover is, so you've been collecting sales tax, then what's the next step? What are you supposed to do with it? So anytime that you register with a state's Department of Revenue, they should give you some type of a letter or notice that lets you know what filing frequency you're on. They are either going to have you on a monthly filing, which means every single month you need to file a sales tax return and make the payment. You could be quarterly, which means that for every calendar quarter, January through March, by the end of April, you need to make the quarterly sales tax return and make a payment. Or you may be on an annual frequency, which means that you're collecting sales tax January through December, and then by the end of the following January, you need to make your annual sales tax return and make a payment. So it's important that whenever you get that letter or notice from them, you mark it on your calendar when your sales tax returns are due. And again, because every state's different, the due date can vary. I know I have clients that range anywhere from the 18th to the 20th to just the last day of the month on whatever month it's due. So pay special attention to that and just make sure you mark it on your calendar. Set yourself a little alarm in your phone if you need to make sure you don't miss those deadlines. Then, when it is actually time for you to file the return, hopefully your point of sale system has some good reporting available for you. I know I have a lot of clients that use Shopify. If you pay for the Shopify tax add-on or app or whatever I guess they classify it as, you will have two separate sales tax reports. You'll have a United States sales tax report. That one is more helpful for sure. Otherwise, everyone does have access to just a taxes report. If you're in Shopify, it's under analytics and reports, and then just in the search bar, you can search tax, and there you should see which reports you have available. But those are the reports that are going to give you the amounts that you have collected in tax and for which jurisdictions, which just means, what level of government that you have charged sales tax for. So it should be, either the state rates, county rates, city rates, whatever is applicable in your area. But you will then use those reports. You're going to be able to log in to the State Department of website or State Department of Revenue website, and you will be able to file your sales tax return there as long as you've been set up with an online account. If you haven't, there should be a way for you just to register on the website. Otherwise, again, just give them a call. They're super helpful. They will walk you through the entire process. You do not need to be afraid of them. All right, so that's the basics of sales tax, ladies. Again, I know it's not the most straightforward topic because each state varies. There's different laws in each state, but these are kind of the general guidelines that are more national in nature, I guess I'll say. They're more universal across the board. But again, any time that you are questioning any specific sales tax rates or are your products taxable in certain states, definitely check out the state's website first. They usually have, PDF resources or links that you can kind of read through. Otherwise, if all of that is just mumbo jumbo to you or act like you're reading a foreign language, don't be afraid to pick up the phone, give them a call. Otherwise, if all of this is still just super overwhelming for you, then I want to invite you to come join us inside of Bookkeeping Made Simple for Boutiques, where you get direct bookkeeping support from me for the first 12 months that you are enrolled, where you can have access to the private Facebook community. We have monthly live Q&A calls. You can post your questions in the group anytime, and I am more than happy to help you translate some of these state sales tax laws so you can make sure that you are being compliant, you're charging the right customers, you're charging the right rates, you're charging tax on the right products. I'm happy to help you make sense of all of this inside that community. So if you are interested in getting that type of bookkeeping and sales tax support for your business, I'd love to have you join us. You can find the link below in the show notes. All right, so just a quick recap today. We covered kind of just what sales tax is, how you should be thinking about it. Remember, it's not your revenue, it's not you charging your customers, it's the state. You are simply acting as the middleman in that business relationship. We talked about who you need to be charging sales tax to, what rates you need to be charging, and then finally, what you need to do with the money that you are collecting. So that is all that I have for you today, but be sure to tune in next week for another episode. I'll see you there. Hey there, and thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope that I shared something that helped you feel just a little bit more confident in understanding all the numbers in your boutique business. If you found this helpful, don't forget to go and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That's the best way for other boutique owners just like you to find this podcast so I can help them feel just a little bit more confident in their numbers as well. If you have any questions about what you heard today, hop on over to Instagram and send me a DM at Finding Freedom Financial. I'll be back again real soon, but in the meantime, go implement or take action on something you learned today. I promise your future self will thank you.